Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome back for everyone who was on the morning session. All right, see at the tail end of lunch and at the start of the hour, we traded right back into the new week opening gap, the lime green area. Also traded back into the hourly fair value gap above the bearish one, which has sent price pushing downwards from about 875 to its low of around 835. So push it down about 40 points here in the opening 10 minutes of the hour. It looks like price pushed right down to the middle value, mean threshold of this leg down. Oops. Still the 1 minute breaker. Let me just make sure it was on the 1 minute. I feel like it was. All right. We got this leg down, little wick above, closure below, trade back in, push lower. Same over here. But if you remember, just before we went to lunch, I was like, I didn't really like. Oh no, that was down here. I was looking at a bullish breaker, and I didn't like how the bullish breaker was pushing here, and the bearish breaker was pushing here, and it was just this tight little range. And we're still in the same range since 10:30. Actually, not even really 10:30, but more like 10 o'clock. Since 10 o'clock, we were in the same range that we were in, and now we're looking at it so at 1:15, so a little over 3 hours, and we have not escaped the range that we're currently inside of. So we'll continue to monitor price to see where we think it's going. I'm looking at the dollar. Dollar is pushing higher. It didn't really make a lot of movement during lunch, but now it's already taken the lunch high, pushing up to 105.1. In fact, let's go there first. Let's just take a look at the other indices as well as the dollar and see how everything is trading. So here's the dollar making a new high, as I mentioned, new high of the day. And the Dow has pretty much sat in the same position for the last 3 hours plus, whatever was the end of the tail end of the 10 o'clock hour. It's pretty much been there. And we see the same on the other two indices. The only thing is they had this push up and then it just kind of remained where it is. Same over in Nasdaq. Nasdaq looks a little cleaner, but it's the same type of situation. But I do notice an inversion fair value gap. So let's pull that across and see if that is relevant and see if it's holding price. We could get some bullish momentum and eclipse these equal highs, and then eventually eclipse this high at 18,888. That should give us the beginnings of what could be a market maker buy model back up to the 950 area, 18,950. But this inversion fair value gap will need to hold, and we'll need to see these equal highs swept at 880 and then the swing high at 890 roughly. We'll need to see both of those levels taken. JR RPG, what's up? Good afternoon. All right, I'll switch back over. Yeah, Milan, you're right. It's when when they're not in sync, it's a lot of short plays, and so you need to be a scalper, or you need to be someone who can trade within a small range. Usually, that range is anywhere from 50 to 75 points. Sometimes it can be as small as 30. But you're right; it's not the type of price action that you're looking for. Being looking for the setups that I look for. Right back where we were at when we broke for lunch, right here at 837, 840. bullish breaker on 15-minute. Let's see, will it hold this time? So I'm assuming you're talking about this one. Just making an assumption here. It will hold this time. Well, I see it looks like it's delivered twice. Well, no, once. About 45 points or so. So, I mean, how, Daz, what's your TP level? Like, what are you trying to do? Because it depends. When I take a breaker, I'm looking for 25 points and an exit. What do you normally target? But I remember earlier in my trading, I used to always want the big move, and I wanted to see if I could catch a 100-point runner or something. And those proved to be, for me at least, quite difficult to grab. Just 25 points. I mean, I see that it can. That's not a lot. 35. So you're talking about getting up to 60. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it can. What I would look for probably is, I usually like to take my entries during the macro. So the macro has already expired 10 minutes ago. So it would have needed to come in during that time for me to take the entry. But what I would look for on the re-entry here is to drop down to a lower time frame and see if I get a bullish setup, whether I get a bullish fair value gap that it taps into, something like that, like here on the 1 minute, and you got a 1 minute fair value gap there that could possibly be an entry. I don't really like fair value gaps as entries, but that's one that you could take. I like to look for a breaker. So I like to look for another breaker to be formed. So maybe here on the 15-minute. I'm sorry, 15-second. Let me get back to where the breaker was. I need to figure out exactly where the mark is. Okay, it's there. All right, so now I'll come in 15-second, right? And I can see that this is where my breaker entry is at 8:35. So I would have been looking for a bullish breaker to form here to give me an entry. So I like it when price is breaking down lower. I'm going to take this one to here, stretch that across. It tapped into the bullish breaker. Well, it tapped into the bullish breaker on the 15-minute, which is at 8:35. Then it pulled out, closed, tapped back in. So this could have been a breaker on the 15-second that supported the larger 15-minute breaker. So you could have looked for an entry there. Or you can look for just a more conservative entry, more deeper inside. So let's see now if this actually holds or if it violates this level down here. If it violates this level down here, then this 15-second breaker didn't hold. All right, so let's see if it holds. And I'm looking for a closure below. So let's see if we get a closure below. So far, we have not gotten that. So in that case, yeah, you could have taken an entry here, but with a small stop loss. You didn't have to have a huge one or something that covered the entire range. But that's usually how I try to support a previous breaker if it's returning for a second, third, or fourth time, and I'm trying to see if I want to take that. Drop down to a super tiny time frame and see if the exact same setup sets up either on top right here where it entries or somewhere inside the breaker. See if you get a bullish breaker there, and then that's where I would take the entry. Yep. So that's how I would have approached that. Whether you would have taken the entry or not is, completely up to you. But I would look at each situation like that and see if I get an entry the way I like it. But also you want to look and see if you can find where would the target be, because it's going to always look for liquidity. So where would the liquidity target be? If you wanted to enter here at 35 and exit at 60, so let me delete this just to make it a little cleaner. 60 is right at the edge of this gray area, which is the new the new day opening gap from last Wednesday. So I would target that high. Also, keep in mind, you have a bearish breaker. So you have a breaker that's going to want to push price lower unless it fails. So just keep that in mind where your target would be. So the bearish breaker would start at 855 and you would want to exit at 60. So you'd have to absorb at least 5 points into the bearish breaker. So you'd have to also equate to how likely you think that scenario would be. So all those things factor in. That's why I don't like it when the breakers are so close to one another. I like it when there's a little bit of space, because then I can get my points without it having to run into some opposing forces. Yeah, you're right. High resistance. That's what happens when your indices are not in sync. You get high resistance. So price still moves. It just moves either really slow or it's a lot of back and forth. So you can't have tight stop losses. You're going to get stopped out, or not necessarily stopped out, but you're going to have a lot of break even trades. All right, Daz, you got halfway there already. You just label this so we know exactly what we're looking at. It's too small. interesting to look at is these right here, the relative equal highs up at 879. And it's 1:30, so now we can put in our lunch high and low. So lunch high is right here, 1255 candle. Lunch low over here. You know what? I'm going to drop this. Need that one any longer. All right. So gave nearly 20 points, 19 and a half points so far. We take our lunchtime range. We see we had a retracement all the way down at 78.6 down to the tick. We're now back up into premium. We passed 50%, not quite at the 40% retracement, but we are in premium pricing. So let's see how high price wants to go. Daz wanted to see if he will get to 860. So let's see if we get there. very close to the lunch low here. Lunch low is at 821. We made it down to 823 and 3/4. All right, lunch low is now taken. Session highs and lows that are open: lunch high, London high, Asia high, and the New York low down at 18,755. So those are the session highs and lows that we have open at the moment. We've just traded to the very low edge of the new day opening gap from last Wednesday. Not quite to 50% of the breaker here, this 15-minute breaker. However, we did sweep. Not only did we take the lunch low, but we had equal lows right here that were taken. Pretty much all three of these from around 11:15 all the way through the lunch hour. Those lows have now been taken. All right, I continue to look at that level at 18,810 as the market structure shift level. We get there on the lower time frame, I believe down to the 5-minute. Then we'll be looking at switching structure back to being bearish to that. And if that occurs, then we could see the New York low fall this afternoon. So I have that area marked up at 810. So if we see a trade below 810 with a closure, then we'll be looking at a market structure shift. about 6 minutes away from the next macro, 150 to 210. A little better. Sports Hub believes we're going back to lows. Any lows in particular? Most recent price swing. So from the low of the day, which was during the opening bell, till what our high we had during lunch, we just completed a 50% retracement, barely 50%. Let's see if I can move some of this out of the way. Yep. There we go. We see to the tick, 50%. Maybe a tick over. Okay, 30 seconds before our macro. Drop down to the 1 minute here. Watch the macro from the lower time frame. We can see as soon as it opened up inside of the breaker, price is pushing out. Let's see if it delivers 25 points here. Too late on that one. Hey, what's up, Daniel? Now you, Daz, now you see why I like to wait for the macro to come. It's just a lot easier for on the trade. You can see it only took 3 candles. There weren't any retracements. It just delivered what it was supposed to. So doing waiting for the macro is something that I've not only seen in other YouTubers' videos where they give a tutorial on how to trade the unicorn, but also through my back testing, I just find that during that time period, the last 10 minutes of the hour and the first 10 minutes of the following hour just seems to deliver those kind of low resistance liquidity runs. And it's a test of patience too, because it first started tapping in here, what, at 115, 120, 123. It went up a bit and then it retraced even further. So if you had just stopped here, you would have broken even. And that's kind of what it likes to do, it to test your patience. But if you waited until 150, it still gave you the same entry inside without all of this. All right, we're inside of the bearish breaker now. So we can't ignore the fact that the bearish breaker has sent price lower multiple times. After being confirmed over here this morning at 10 something, trade back in, push lower, trade back in, push lower, trade back in during lunch, push lower. So we do not want to ignore this area, but maybe it'll be invalidated this go around since it's already been tapped into 3 separate times. And even if it breaks through there, we have the lunch high, which could be the liquidity run that it's getting ready to make and what it's looking for. But then you're still inside of a 1 hour fair value gap on the bearish side. So we still could fail up there. Even if we take the lunch high, we could still fail in this area. So if you're in a long, I'm not saying you have to exit, but you want to make sure that you're paying attention to see if price wants to turn around. Mm. All right, looks like we created a bullish breaker in this white space here, right here. Granted, this is a lot of stuff in this one area, so I wouldn't be willing to take this trade. But I do want to look and see how it develops and see what happens. Whether this formation is what will invalidate this one up here. It's multiple fair value gaps between these two areas to create the unicorn. We have a section here, then we got a smaller section right here, and then we have a larger section on the bottom portion. In order to achieve the same results from here at 854, we'd be looking at 880 as our terminus point, which just so happened to be consequent encroachment of this fair value gap. So that could be a place where price wants to trade to if it was able to take out the lunch high. Ladarius, no, macro is time frame. So it's the time, the last 10 minutes of the hour and the first 10 minutes of the following hour. So what happens is the way ICT explained it is it's a set of instructions where the algorithm is targeting a particular price, looking for some level of liquidity. So during that time frame, we just look for our setup to validate, and then we're looking for a liquidity point to target. And so that's why we call it a macro. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Daz, what level did you get in at? Uh, 828. Okay. And then, oh, the 10-minute had one. All right, that's cool. Yeah, especially when you find them on multiple time frames, that's when you feel a little more confident with them. And if you can find one that looks a little cleaner or has a smaller range where your stop losses has better placement, then yeah, those are definitely preferred. You said you got in at 828. Oh, okay. So you got in inside and you needed 25. So 53. Yeah. Got it right here at 152. All right, let's see if taking out these equal lows was enough and now price wants to push higher. All right, so we swept equal lows and tapped into a fair value gap. And tap back into the newly formed breaker here on the 1 minute. Let me move this one out of the way just so it's easier to see. And we'll keep this until we to the macros over at 210. Oh, the silver bullet? Sure. Let's see. Yeah, we may have just tapped that in right here at 2 o'clock. We have a fair value gap right here it tapped into. Should essentially be here. So we need to go up to the fair value gap here is where it would hit 20 points, 875, entrance at 855. That's where I would have taken the silver bullet if I was a silver bullet trader, targeting the lunch high. Mm. If this last sweep was enough, it took out this low, 851, traded down to 850.75. Yeah, but if like to have seen price move a little quicker than it's done, it's still sitting in this area right now, which is not fun. All right, there it is, finding a little bit of life. Just made it up to CE of this breaker above, the bearish breaker. All right, everyone, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the thumbs up in the description of the video, give me a like so YouTube knows that you're enjoying the content. Oh, I'm sorry, JR. Yep, you're right. 152 fair value gap. I do sometimes, Frank. Yeah, equal highs and equal lows when you're just looking for targets. Absolutely. I like to have a fixed target though. For the breakers that I take. But ultimately, where I think price will go, a lot of times I look at equal highs and lows. It's just I don't always want to hold until it gets there because a lot of times it'll get like 95% of the way and then retrace back before finally going up there. And so I would rather not hang around 20 extra minutes for the last 3 points. Yeah, it is running into a lot of selling pressure. I mean, we do have a bearish breaker here and bearish fair value gap above. Um, so it is definitely high resistance, which is why we see these candles here. So you can decide whether you want to stay in or whether you want to just exit and look for something a little easier later. Right, because we're already 15 minutes in and it hasn't really moved that far. It did go up about 10 points on this candle, but it hasn't really done anything since. Yeah, pretty much all the indices as well as the dollar having this same type of setup where you got 15 minutes with the same price range. So it's a very small hourly candle so far. Not a big range in the first 17 minutes here. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Here for 20. Yeah, you're right about that. The open was the cleanest by far. Um, and since I don't trade the open, that kind of left me without an entry, but it's, kind of is what it is. I know there wasn't any high impact news today. It was only a medium impact news at 10, but I didn't think that it would lead to this. But I am looking forward to tomorrow when we have employment numbers announced at 8:30, and then I think it's new home prices at yeah, I think it's new home sales at 10. Just had another full liquidity taken. This swing low right here. Taken at 848. So let's see if that propels price higher. Now we're running out of real estate here. Not necessarily, Ladarius, not necessarily. So what I like to do is to pick a higher time frame that you like, whether it's the 1 hour or the 4 hour. Don't go lower than the 15-minute. And there is where you want to identify your order blocks, your fair value gaps. Then pick the time that you want to execute on, whether it's the 5-minute, the 3-minute, whatever. And that's where you want to identify your breaker. And you want to identify your breaker, you want to marry them up with your higher time frame fair value gap or something like that. And when those things align, then that's when you want to look for an entry. Wait a minute, what happened? 1 hour. So for instance, if you were looking for a short, you have a 1 hour fair value gap here, a bearish one. So when price gets up here, you would look for a breaker on a lower time frame that's a bearish breaker to then support price hitting this level and going lower. And if you don't get it, then price is likely going to move higher and move into the next one. And then you look for a bearish breaker here. And if you get one that aligns with this level, then you take the bearish setup lower. So you want to do that. Exactly what Unicorn Queen just said. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, Milad. We are, which is also why we keep having this high resistance issue. So yeah, anyone in this setup here, you decide whether you want to stay in and hold until trying to get up to the lunch high, or if you want to exit and look for another setup later. Actually, price may not give us an option. It may end it soon. All right, there it is, invalidating the setup. Now there's still a fair value gap down here, but we elected to take the one in the upper range. Oops. I'll put my fair value gap back the way I had it before. Oops. Let's move back up to the 5-minute here. I see what you're saying, Malad. So you would have taken another entry, which would have brought your average entry down and allow you enough time for price to find its footing in this area and then recover back up. Yep. Mm-hmm. some point exited profit. Okay. Even if it's not a lot of profit, just make sure you didn't lose anything. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So we're going to stretch this and back over. We're already back down here. So we're going to get that out of the way. Yep. Yeah, you're right, Queen. And looking at the chart, if we do create one, is exactly at the point of a market structure shift. Yeah. Oh, Ladarius, DOL, draw on liquidity. No, you'll be fine, Milad. You'll keep them. You're, especially if you're only trading 5, maybe 10 micros at the most. You're being careful with your accounts, so you should be fine. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see. All right, we're about 5 minutes away from the next macro, the 250 to 310. We'll be in power hour once that's concluded. On the final hour of trading, hopefully then we'll see the range ease up a bit, give us a not only a nice entry, but something to shoot for. That's a longer range target than what we've seen. Let's see, dollar. You know, we got 5 minutes. Let's take a look at where the other indices are trading. Here we go. All right, so far left, we have the dollar. Dollar's pushing towards afternoon highs, even though the range is considerably smaller than it was earlier this morning. And we now have for the last 4 hours or so about the same size range where it's just trading back and forth. So we'll see at the conclusion of this hour whether it's reached a new high. Let's just look over to the left and see where things are. So I thought it would reach, you know, this area, and that's what it was looking for, and it would look to turn around and push a little bit lower for some level of retracement, because it hasn't really retraced at all. All right, so we had this big push up, but nothing back down into this fair value gap or into this one. Nothing to balance price. Maybe just returning to this swing high. Those are the kind of things I was expecting to happen. Maybe down to 104.8, something like that. And with that movement down, of course, we would have saw bullish conditions in the indices. But since the dollar has not pushed lower, has not found its resistance yet, it's causing our indices to not only hold as it was trying to push higher, but in that holding pattern, now we're seeing it push a little bit lower. So we're seeing that on all the indices in the last probably 15 minutes, where they're pushing lower than they had been. They had been holding high, but not really making a lot of progress. And now we can see each of them making their lowest value of the afternoon, with the exception of maybe the S&P. Yep, still has not taken a lunch low. It looks like we have taken a lunch low on Nasdaq, even though we're on a hour time frame, so we can't see it. But it does look like that lunch low has been taken. Actually, you know what? Take that back. Lunch low on Nasdaq been taken. We've been took the lunch low. It's the lunch high that never was taken. All right, we see possibly in the next 12 minutes, maybe this inverse fair value gap here, which had been holding price and just had these long wicks inside, now may have a candle body inside or below. So we'll see what that means. Let's get back over to NQ and look and see if our market structure is still intact. Okay, so we got a trade down to the 830 open. Tapped right at it, 813.75. Market structure shift is just below that. If we can get a trade below 810 and a close, then we'd be looking at bearish conditions. Right now, we're still, as far as market structure concerned, we're still bullish. But anything below 810 with a closure would flip that upside down. Yep, you're right, Queen. I mean, if you count when it traded up into the range, it's right around 950. And here we are at 250. So for 5 hours, price has remained relatively consistent between the low of 10 o'clock and the high of lunch. Not even really the high of lunch, but the high of 10. So 10:05 to 10:55, that range is where we still are. Let me just put a fib on there. Oops, wrong thing. Yeah, pretty much 100% retracement almost just recently. $8.10, you say AM session equal low? So at 10:05. Oh, you're talking from here up to here? Okay, we are in the macro now. Put it on the lower time frame. $14.25. Yeah, it looks like that was it. Yeah, same on the, let's see, 5 minute. Yeah, right here. So 240 traded inside, traded lower, and then that would have been your exit, with the target being here. So macro is a time. It's just a time period, the last 10 minutes of the hour and the first 10 minutes of the next hour. So every time we get to the end of the hour, you always hear me talk about a macro. I have these faint gray lines here. I know you can't really see them, but I put them here just so I can see when price is in between that time period. And it's just during that time period, I'm looking for a handful of things to happen. If I have a breaker set up already, I'm looking for price to trade into it, and then I'll take the entry. Um, if I don't have a breaker set up and we are getting close to some sort of market structure shift, I'm looking for that to happen during the macro. If that doesn't happen, I'm looking for a liquidity point to be traded to during the macro. So during the macro, I'm looking for one of those three things to occur. And sometimes you get nothing. Nothing happens. It'll just consolidate. And in that case, you do nothing and you just move on to the next macro. You wait for the next hour. And so that's what you end up getting. Right, so in this case, I had to trade back into this 15-minute that sent price higher just after lunch, or the back half of the 1 o'clock hour. So we're back inside of the same breaker. We tapped into consequent encroachment already. and we're in the macro. So this would be an ideal entry if someone was looking for it. But the way things have been ranging today, I'm just, yeah, not really feeling it. I'll wait to the end of the day possibly and see if I want to take an entry. Yeah, same Malad. It just Silver Bullet it was one of my favorite ones, but I've kind of lost favor of it the last several months, and so I don't trade that one very often. At 8:13, oh, right here. Well, to start, it was not in the macro time. So if it's not in the macro time, I'm not entering. That's a start. And then just the way price is trading back and forth, back and forth. I'm just not interested in being a part of this. Yeah, just let me zoom this in. So J stock, you can see here, right? If you just look at this as a section, so from 18,880 down to 18,810, price has pretty much been here since 955, right? And now it's 255. So for that reason, I'm looking for something different. So if price would take the lunch high, then maybe I'd look for an entry. It, Also, if we push lower and we get this market structure shift down here below 810, then I may look for an entry. But otherwise, if it's just going to sit in this 50-point range, then I'm not interested. I don't have a higher time frame PD array to push me higher. Like I don't have a 1 hour fair value gap or anything here. We have a bearish one up top to push us lower. So if we were up here, then maybe I'd be interested. But the bullish one on the 1 hour, it was invalidated at 8 o'clock this morning. So yesterday, when we were in this same area, we had this one. Right. So this was yesterday afternoon. Traded into it. You look for a breaker setup, trade it out. Trade it back down, look for a breaker setup, trade it out. Right. We came in today. Everything was good until 8 o'clock. This candle right here traded below and closed below. And that invalidated this. So now we trade back down to this area. Even though it's pushed higher, I don't have that fair value gap. That's part of my rule setup to propel high for me to take an entry here. And the next one we have on the bullish side is down here at 18,720. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, J stock. I used to have to, I mean, I had to figure that out because I used to just take a setup that presented itself. And when I lost the setup, I couldn't understand why. And so it just seemed more like a 50-50 to me. And so I need ways to explain how I get in and to try to make it as mechanical as possible. All right, let's get back down to the lower time. Still got 10 more minutes on the macro here. Yep. So if we get the lunch high, or if we trade to the midnight open, or take out the London high, any of those scenarios, I'll be looking for a bearish setup to push us lower. We also, on the big leg down, we have OTE up in this area. So it's a lot of bearish pressure there. And then likewise, if we push lower, below 810, I have put MSS here. So that's a market structure shift. Then price structure will then be bearish. And I'll be looking for a price to push lower than where we currently are. And then price target would be sweeping this low here at 750, which is the New York low. And the next one would be New York low from yesterday, which also puts us into a bullish fair value gap where then we can look for a long if one presents itself. But right now we're sitting in the middle. and not to get impatient here with not receiving my setup today. Yep. Yeah, well, I had one that worked. Yeah, for sure. I think the best setup, like Queen mentioned, was this morning. The best setup was here. This was the one right here. This breaker. And this move up, pushed lower. The 9:30 bell happened. Price pushed higher. Traded right back into the breaker, into the unicorn setup, fair value gap, and then out. That was the best one, and I didn't take that one. Because we had news at 10, which is this candle right here. So I didn't want to get in before news. And of course, that's where all the good stuff happened. Price ran from 750 to 850 in, I don't know, about 30 minutes there. This one candle right here, you're right. This was a nice entry. Is glad it worked out. But the fact that it couldn't push any higher, we have all of this bearish pressure above, just left me less than optimistic about getting in the same area. Yep. Yep. And so this is where I would expect dollar to at least pull back some, try to balance price a little bit before going higher. And that should relieve some pressure for the indices to do a bit more to the upside. But I say should, doesn't mean it's going to happen. Since we have some time, I don't think we've looked at this anytime this afternoon. We did this morning though. But as we look at tomorrow, GDP coming at 8:30 preliminary, quarter over quarter. We also have unemployment claims coming in tomorrow as well at the same time, 8:30. And then an hour and a half later, we have pending home sales coming month over month. So that's at 10. So tomorrow morning, 8:30, there's 2 high impact news drivers, and at 10, there's a third one. So tomorrow morning should be interesting. It should get things moving around a bit so we can find entries that are extended and give us the 25 to whatever TPs we're looking for, and at least loosen things up so we can have low resistance liquidity runs, which is ideal when trading. Like no one wants to be in a trade for an hour just to get 20 to 30 points. All right, let's move these over. Which one are you referring to? Triple C? Which one? You're talking about this morning, like this one here, 9:30ish. Oh yeah, before news this morning. I feel like I did. I feel like I did spot it. It just was one of those things that I don't trade before news. I'll have to go back and review the morning setup. I feel like I did spot it beforehand. Nope. Triple C I just reviewed. Nope. I didn't spot that one before. I spotted this one. This one at the bottom, and it never returned down to that one. So no, when I spotted this one here, was after this 945 candle had already tapped in and it was already trading higher. So no, I spotted this one and scouted and was waiting because I think this was on the 1 minute if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Yep. So I got the one at the bottom and it never retraced back down. So no, I didn't catch that one. Yep, no problem. Yeah, I didn't want to tell you anything that wasn't true. I was trying to remember and then I went back to verify. Yeah, I'm allowed. That'd be nice if it would do that. I think we're probably more likely going to get something like 18,500 or something, 18,550. No, I think you could be onto something. Maybe we will get 18,000. I'm seeing an area at 18,063 that wasn't revisited on the 4 hour, so that could provide a little opportunity. Okay. Get the 18K and then see if it gets back up to around 19. Yeah. Shit. 2 grand. That's what, 200 per micro? No, that's 20 grand. Over 10, 2. Yeah. Yeah, 2 grand per micro. It's a good amount. See if we get the lunch high and then the midnight open between now and 3:45. If it comes back down, I'll take it. If it doesn't, it's all good. I'll be right back. Give me like 2 minutes. Possibly. Yeah, possibly the London high. It could be real heavy. Where's my guy who asked earlier? Okay, J Stock. Yeah, you asked earlier. You asked me why I didn't want to get in here, and I gave you the reason for it, and that was somewhere in here, right? One of these candles. Um, and so the reason I gave you why I didn't want to get in was the reason why I didn't want to enter. However, the reason why I'm looking to enter now is when I was studying ICT, he always mentioned that between 315 and 345, that price likes to run towards the midnight open. And not that it actually hits the midnight open, but it moves in that direction. And so here I'm looking for an entry that would move towards midnight open. And since we've already been targeting the lunch high, and that was what we were targeting earlier when we were up here looking for the silver bullet, I'm thinking that now might be a time where it wants to go and get it. We're in the final hour of the day. And so I wasn't really taking into context what time it was when I told you why I didn't want to enter here. So that's why it looks like a change of heart here. But that's the reason for it. 315 to 345. ICT said price likes to move towards the midnight open, and it's not every time, but a lot of times that's what it does. And so I'm banking that this is one of those times. Yeah, Queen, I'm not optimistic about getting a fill here. I wish I would, but yeah, I think it's gonna go ahead and move. It'd be nice to invalidate this bearish breaker here, as well as the fair value gap that's above. That'd be nice. All right, let's take the entry there. Should have waited. No patience, Sean. Got to do better. Okay. What up, Shark? What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not good at those days between ranges and continuations. Don't worry, Malad, you'll get there. I promise you, you'll get there. Yeah, probably not a bad idea, Rapesh. It's not what I would call an A plus setup for me as far as the what I look for. So probably not a bad idea. Yeah, it is moving in that direction. So let's see how we finish up. So about 15 minutes before we get to the final macro of the day, the 350 to 410. Yeah, you're right. I have seen that sometimes when it dumps. I mean, it dumps in quick fashion without any retracement. Yeah. And more patience and waited for it to come back down. My exit would have been at 60. So I would have gotten out in 2 candles. Mm. Let's see what happens here. Excuse me. Back below the entry, or what would have been the entry if I was patient enough. Looks like there was no push towards the midnight open at 345, or between 315 and 345. There was a slight push, but not a major one. It didn't even take out the 2 o'clock high. So we have the macro coming in just over 3 minutes, and we'll see what happens there. I'll leave this position, see how it develops, if it develops. May not last much longer. Take it. It's all right. Tough conditions today. Or not necessarily tough conditions, but yeah, just no range at all. I thought maybe at the end of the day, final 30 minutes of trading or so, maybe we get something where price would want to extend a bit and take out a session high, but didn't want to do so. We still have the market structure shift below 810 if it trades below 810 and closes. No, it's okay, Rupesh. Yeah, we are in power hour, so we got about 20 minutes left. About 20 minutes left, and then that'll be it. Drop down to the 1 minute now. Let me take a look at the dollar and see where it is. Okay, dollar is pushing higher. So we have all indices mostly bullish for the hour, with the exception of Nasdaq, which is odd because Nasdaq has been the most bullish of the three for the last several days. But we also have the dollar, which is quite bullish at the moment. Let's actually, since we have just a minute remaining before the breaker, before the macro period, let's take a look and see what the dollar is doing. We can see it's still pushing higher, highest price of the day. We even got a bullish candle out of the Dow, still slightly bullish in the S&P. but not much from Nasdaq. Nasdaq is definitely pushing lower. In fact, I can get rid of this. All right, we're in the macro now, so we have our final 10 minutes. Let me switch back over. Final 10 minutes of this hour, and then the first 10 minutes of next hour. Yeah, 50-point range from 10 a.m. till now. It's almost like today was the holiday. Like, this is what I would have expected on Monday. And then even actually, I don't know how many of you were on with me last week on Friday. Friday afternoon was just like this. In fact, I think we ended the session like 20 minutes early because it just wasn't doing anything. So ever since Friday lunchtime, hasn't been a lot of volume move. Well, it hasn't been a large range since Friday lunchtime. So hopefully tomorrow is that day that kickstarts everything. As I showed you earlier, we have the two high impact news drivers at 8:30, and then we have another one at 10. All right, let's see if we get that market structure shift here. Closure below 810. And there's the closure. Now this is on the 1 minute, so we have a market structure shift on the 1 minute. If we're going to have this on the higher time frames, when we'll need price to stay below 810, even on the 2, 3, 4, and 5 minute charts. Let's see if price even returns for anyone who wants that short entry. Let's see if it even returns up to tap you in. You know what, let's get rid of this. If it's relevant tomorrow, we'll redraw it. Yep. It's in the macro, Rupesh. That when you catch the macro, it'll definitely help you out as far as moving price along quickly. Hello, Art. What's going on? Good afternoon. Yeah, tomorrow will be better. Much better, Queen. Don't worry. Those news drivers in the morning are going to help us. We do have the New York low still at 755. So that's about, is that 40 points lower than where we are now? Good point. Good point. Stay out of the kitchen. We'll get back in tomorrow. Yep. So, all right, all the way up to the 5 minute, it is confirmed that we have made the market structure shift. I'm now looking at the 15 minute. 15 got a ways to go, but that's the only time frame. The hour is bearish. All the other time frames are bearish. It's just the 15 minute. 15 minute needs to get to 7:55, which oddly enough is the New York Open. $7.89. Been holding all day. Yep. Yeah, we are closing out the month on Friday, so taking a look at the monthly chart and seeing what target may still be out there would be helpful. The month with a bang. Happy birthday. No, I'm not familiar enough with options. I'm gonna be honest. I know very little about options, so I don't know how to blend them into my strategy. 18402. Okay. Mark headed based on. Okay. Okay. So you're saying price will just move to wherever those liquidity levels are, where people want to enter and exit the market. Okay. So there's a retest of the level that broke market structure. Now let's see what happens. And we got 10 minutes. So hit it right at 4 o'clock. And that's 10 minutes of remaining. Let's see if that New York level falls. Oh, okay, I see. All right, Rupesh, should definitely be something to look into. No, I didn't. I didn't take this. No, I'm done for the afternoon. I'm just watching for now. Doing a little tape reading. Ryan, I try to every day. Um, it's just sometimes it's just doesn't give me what I'm looking for. All right, Queen, take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Um, if I see an obvious trend line, I'll draw it up just so I can see when things change. Not that I take an entry from a trend line, but I will, like, for instance, like looking at all of these down here. So I would have probably taken something like this, or maybe something like this, just to see when, as long as price stayed below, then I would still be looking for it to go lower. And then if it broke higher and down and low and then started moving up in this area, then I would get rid of the trend line. But this is what I use it for, just to see when things change. All right, JR, catch you tomorrow. Need 7 more minutes. Okay. All right, Luke, catch you tomorrow. Glad you had a good day. I wouldn't, only because of the time. If it wasn't the time, then I probably would, because we just broke a level here at 810 to break in the market structure level, and so I would consider this as a push lower. But since it's 5 after 4, probably not, unless you can hold it um, all the way until we reopen later on. But this is not my entry model. This is more of a break and retest type situation. So you break market structure, come back, retest it, and then I set up this short as at where you would have taken a short, but I'm not taking it. But high probability, that's I still stick to the breakers. But I will say a lot of times what you get is when you get a market structure shift, like we got here at 810 level, you get a breaker when that happens. So let me try to find it. All right, let's go to the 5 minute. Maybe it's easier there. All right, so it's probably going to be probably here. Yep. Yep. So we got top down, traded above, and then boom, lower and closing. Yeah. So this would be the entry you would be looking for. So it's close. This is 810, but you would be trying to get in at 817 ish, something like that. And if you didn't take that one, then you would have possibly took this one. So you'd be getting in at 814. This one actually did get tapped into, and then you would have took the short out of here. So So that's another way to identify breakers. Is if you have your market structure already set up and you know where market structure would be violated, you can find a breaker usually at that position where the market structure is being violated. All right, Daz, have a good one. Yes, definitely everyone on your way out, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. All right, Rupesh, catch you tomorrow. All right, nope, I don't use any of those. I'm familiar with some of them, but no, I haven't. Just ICT mostly. Yeah, it's one of those things that once you gather enough tools in your tool belt, you got to decide which ones you want to use, and because you can't use everything, you'll just confuse yourself, or you'll have way too many things to confirm that you'll never enter a trade. So once you figure out the tools that you like and that you feel give you confidence to trade, just use those. Even if you have a best friend who sits right next to you and uses different tools, just use the ones that you like. All right, so we maybe run out of volume here in the day. Right, and here if you were taking that at 814, right there, right, and you would have made 25 points. Okay, maybe not. Wouldn't be there yet. You'd still be working towards it. But one of those things. Any final questions? ICT. Well, in the beginning, of course, you're kind of bouncing around. You don't really know what you don't know as far as trading is concerned. So you're doing a lot of things. You're looking at everything that every indicator that someone mentions to you, you look at it and you start going through things. And I realized I didn't know exactly why things were happening. And so ICT attempted to put some narrative around why price was moving the way it was moving, what things to look for, all those kind of things. And so once I found someone who was actually trying to explain why things were happening, then that resonated with me, because I'm the type of person that always asks a lot of questions and say why this and why that and why not that. And so he was answering a lot of those questions, and so that's why I went with ICT. He had a free curriculum as well on YouTube, so it wasn't something that I needed to purchase, no mentorship or any of those kind of things. So that also worked well for me. He created a 2022 model, which kind of simplified things and said, hey, just look at this one thing, and that should help you out quite a bit, even though he had 10, 15 other different models to use as entries. And so those kind of things just kind of led me down the path of following the things that he was teaching. And so I did that all of 22 and into last summer of 23. And then I just kind of said, all right, well, enough's enough. I think I got firm grounding now. I need to actually just start putting this to work. And so that's kind of what happened there. But that's how it happened. I found ICT on YouTube, and then he was explaining things the way that I like things to be explained. And so it just worked. Well, for me, it answered a lot of questions about like why things are doing the way, why price moves the way it moves. Just like when you sit down in the morning and you look at the opening bell and you see price run up, touch something, and you see it run back down, and you have no idea why it went up, why it stopped at that level, and why it came back down. And so those were the questions that I needed answered, because I was introduced to trading through a company called IML, where they have these entry models that are, supposedly the best entries to take, or sort of high probability entries. But they don't teach you how to trade. They don't teach you how to um, navigate the space and how to look out for certain things, or how not to be afraid if you see price going against you, because it's just going to balance out this certain area or those kind of things. And so they left a lot of questions out there. And so it was all about just getting you into a trade so you can start seeing things move in your direction, but you had no idea where to get out at. That was another thing. It's like, if you get in a trade and things look good, where do you exit? So it was just way too many questions with IML, and it was quite expensive as well. And so when I found ICT, it was free, and he answered way more questions than they ever thought about answering. So it just made sense. All right, Shark, catch you tomorrow. But ICT it's a lot of work. He has tons and tons of videos, and they're really long. So it takes some time. Some of his students have come out with abbreviated versions of his videos, and so that also helped out, where I would watch his lecture, which would be an hour or two, and if there was things I didn't understand, I could go to a former student of his who has a YouTube video that's 10 minutes that then builds on the lecture that he gave. So I could take that and then see the abbreviated version, get someone else's interpretation, which helped out a lot for me. And those are the videos that I have on my Discord, and the ones that I recommend people see if you're looking for, like, if people have questions about the unicorn setup of breakers and they don't know exactly how to spot them or how to trade them. I always point them to ICT students who are trading the same way and have made videos for others to follow. So, so that's it, unless you have any more questions. Looks like it got all the way down to the 25 points. It did push down 25. So that's if somebody had taken that breaker as an entry. It did give the 25 points, albeit after 410. So it's 415. So if you're on Topstep, you had to be done by 410. If you're on Apex, you're still trading. All right, I think that's the final question. So everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for this afternoon. I know price was a little stuck and wasn't willing to move very much and didn't have a large range. But tomorrow morning, 8:30, we have several news drivers that should get things moving. So tomorrow should be a much better day. I hope to see you all there. On your way out, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Take care.